I'm going to walk you through a 4-step framework on how you can explain what you do in 30 seconds or less in a way that's incredibly compelling and desirable to your ideal clients. So that way, when you post a reel or you're writing a caption or an email, that it actually converts. Now, this is an incredibly powerful skill that you can have, especially in today's market where we have such a short attention span. And it is incredibly important for you to be able to capture the right attention and to be able to actually know how to communicate your message in a way that converts, that makes you money. And so, for some context here, I remember around 2014, I was in the local chamber of commerce. I was using that to try to grow my gym and build my network and all that stuff back in the day. And I was a part of a referral type group, similar to like a BNI. And we would have to get up every single week and do these 30-second commercials. And I remember winning these things almost every single week. And in fact, there was an inside joke inside the group that I had some secret formula or something like that. And I didn't. I didn't even know what I was doing at the time. In fact, I attribute this to God. I feel like this is just a gift that I have. And I've really studied this. And over the last 12 years, tried to figure out, how do I make this work in terms of content on Facebook or Instagram? How do I make this work in longer form content, even beyond 30 seconds, and things like YouTube videos or workshops and masterclasses? And I've come up with this framework that's been helpful for me, and that's what I want to give here to you today. And in fact, I remember sitting around at the Chamber of Commerce. Is at like a networking event, and all of these people were coming up to the table, these different business owners, and everybody was like exchanging cards. And the question everybody asked, like, "What is it that you do?" And everybody's like, "Oh, I do insurance," or "I help, I'm a trainer," or whatever. And I remember when they asked me, and I said what I did, and I'll share with you in just a moment what I said. I literally would get paid in fulls from people. I'd have people sign up for my gym for a year in full, like ask me for my Venmo. It was nuts. And I'm going to share with you the framework that's been helpful. But, and again, I'll share with you what I said as an example here in just a minute. All right. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive in. Step number 1 of this framework is going to be who you help. You have to be able to call out the specific type of person. So, for example, do you help business owners or online coaches? Or do you help a very specific type of business owner at a certain revenue level? Are you helping parents? Are you helping moms? The more specific you can get with an actual dream client here, and not staying so generic on like the whole market or a niche, like really getting yourself into a sub niche, is going to massively help. And this may sound like a dumb moment, but I watch people horrendously butcher this because they're so generic, or they're so big with who they help, that it can get lost in the noise and it can feel very commoditized. So that's step number 1. Step number 2 is you need to be able to articulate the problem. What are they struggling with? And the more specific you can get here, the better. In fact, there's a famous marketer, his name is Jay Abraham. He says, if you can articulate the problem better than they can, meaning your customer, they're going to automatically assume that you have the solution. Now, the problem when people explain the problem is that they stay very surface level. Maybe they're like, hey, I help with weight loss, or I help you generate leads, or whatever. And that is very, very surface level. So what I want you to think through here is, again, think about an actual dream client right now, like a real human. What are their specific pains and symptoms that they're experiencing in real time right now? Like, imagine, and this is a part of my magic messaging makeover framework that I teach a lot of people. I call it the struggle story. And it's like you're tapping into their psychology. You're tapping into their head right now. What are the things that they're actually going and complaining about to their friends or their colleagues? What are the things that they're trying right now that just aren't working for them? What are the limiting beliefs that they have that are going on in their head to why they even have this problem in the first place? The more specific and concrete you can get, the more powerful this is going to become when you are creating content or doing any type of communication, even if it's in person. And so really, really, really important that you nail down the problem. Now, step number 3 is going to be how you help them. You need to be able to explain what you do in a unique way, something that's a bit novel, that's different. So for example, if you nail the first 2, where you're like, I help moms lose stubborn belly fat, And then you're like, with exercise and nutrition, which is a very generic example, obviously, it's going to fall on deaf ears. It's going to feel very commoditized. But when you can explain it in a way that's different, and sometimes this comes down to you naming your own unique mechanism or your own unique solution, and that's a start, but it goes well beyond just having a name. It goes behind, like, what's the big idea behind your way? What's your philosophy? In fact, when I was learning copywriting back in the day, one of the big things when you're writing copy for your offer or anybody's offer is you have to formulate that big idea. And there's many ways that we can go about doing it. And in fact, I can do a whole video, a whole masterclass just on formulating a big idea. But in this case, the big idea is for you to think about what is your unique way of helping people. An example of this is when I was selling fitness, my unique solution was, I literally called it the stubborn fat solution. And it was my way of helping people with nutrition, exercise, and mindset. And I happened to call it the stubborn fat solution. And the big idea behind it was, it's not just about eating healthy, it's about eating right and doing the right types of strength training to be able to ignite your metabolism and burn stubborn fat. And so I had this whole big idea behind it. So when I communicated it, it became incredibly powerful and effective for me. And we'll go into some more examples here in just a moment. But the fourth thing that you need to nail down in this framework is the actual result. What is that, as Alex Raposi would say, that dream outcome that you're leading people towards? And even more than just the dream outcome, what is that aspirational identity that you're actually bringing people towards? Like, if you think about you're climbing this mountain and you are guiding other people to climb this mountain, what is that North Star for them? What is that peak? And maybe base camp is an outcome, right? In fitness, it could be like they finally lose that last 20 pounds of stubborn belly fat. But the aspirational identity might be so that they could finally feel confident in their own skin again, or so they can be that role model for their kids. There's some type of aspiration that most people are chasing. And when we can articulate this is part of what we help people with, it becomes so much more desirable for the people that we're communicating this to. Does that make sense? And so if we tie this all together, one of the most powerful things that you could do is formulate this into a couple sound bites. And a very simple sound bite, this is like a 5-second one, is I help who struggle with problem by helping them with how so they can get result. And we can look at this a million different ways. This can be formulated into a short soundbite. Like what I used around that networking table back in the day was when people were like, hey, what do you do? I'm like, well, good question. I help business owners like you get the body they want with the time they have through a 45-minute outdoor fitness circuit. And people were like incredibly curious. They were like, what do you mean? What is it? And that gave me a chance to now unpack my quote unquote elevator pitch, or what they call the dinner table test. And people were like, oh my gosh, like, can I sign up? That sounds exactly what I need right now. And so that's how powerful this becomes. Now, you could take this and you can use it like an accordion, and you can stretch this thing out into a YouTube video like this, or a podcast episode, or a workshop, or a masterclass. And when it comes down to it, it really comes down to how you transition between each one of these four. And so let's go ahead and end with some examples of this. So if you're doing this on a reel, what you want to be able to do is first think through, obviously, who that person is. Then the next step is going to be what I call like capturing their attention. And this is going to be you communicating the very specific symptoms that they're experiencing in real time. So if I was talking to, say, a business owner that has a lot of leads coming in, but they're not getting qualified call bookings, right? And I know that's the problem, is their symptoms are they're not getting enough qualified leads. They're getting plenty of leads, just not qualified ones. And so they're struggling to keep consistent calls booked on their calendar. What I'm going to do is I'm going to articulate that problem very specifically. I'm going to say, hey, are you an online coach doing about 10 to 20K a month? But despite having tons of leads coming in through your ads, through your content, even through some referrals, you're just not finding that you're getting qualified people that are like ready to buy. People aren't pre-sold. Your call bookings for sales calls are so inconsistent and so unpredictable. If so, I can show you how to fix that through what I call my magic messaging makeover process. Where what we do is we actually take your messaging that you're putting out top of funnel that's attracting unqualified leads, and we fix it at the root cause by showing you how to say the right words in the right way, structuring it in the right order. So you start to repel the people that aren't good fits and you start attracting the people that are. When you can do this and you can infuse that into your ads, into your content, you will start to systematically and more predictably get dream clients coming in. And so you see what I did there is I brought it all around who I'm helping very specifically, the problem and symptoms that they're experiencing. And I even talked about like some of the things that they were trying. And then I brought into my unique solution, my big idea. Hey, your messaging's probably broken. It's probably not landing. We need to fix that. And if we fix that, you will start to get this dream outcome, right? You'll start to get more of your dream clients coming in, blah, blah, blah. And so I could take that and I can extend that out if I wanted to into a whole workshop, right? I could take that middle piece, the how, and I can literally spend probably 20 to 30 minutes breaking down my unique process of how I actually do it. I can tell stories around it. I can use metaphors. I can use analogies. I can really solidify and bridge that gap. And of course, I can even unpack the problem in much more detail as well. And so hopefully that helps. You could take this framework and you can use it for your next reel. You can use it in practice writing out a caption. And again, you can extend it out like an accordion and do it in a whole video. But what I'm going to tell you is this: do not use ChatGPT. Do not use Claude. Do not outsource your critical thinking to AI, because I'm telling you right now, that's going to make you dumber. It's going to make you way less skilled. You're going to have to put into time to actually learn this. You know, most people train their bodies to have gains, but they're not training their mouths to communicate their message in a way that actually makes them money. And if you want to be able to learn this skill, it's going to take you sitting down and actually practicing, going through these things, coming up with different ways that you can communicate your message. And when you do, and when you really practice this, it becomes such an invaluable skill that will serve you for the rest of your career in your business and in whatever it is that you do. So if you have any questions for me, let me know. Drop them down in the comments below. And if you want this framework, I'll have it in the description. And if you want more videos like this, make sure to click subscribe so you get them delivered to you fresh on your feed. All right. Have an amazing day. Go out there, make some money, and change some lives.